Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. The F5 isn't something that I've flown for a while, or at least it feels like it, but I've finally found my groove in VR, and this video is intended to be the proof. Anyone that's been following my VR journey will have noticed that it took me a while to come around. I wasn't really a fan of it at first. Twisting around was difficult, judging lead and range were difficult, managing energy were difficult. I basically just wasn't as good at the game in VR. But now, I think I've finally put enough hours in that it's just kind of clicked, and like my aim is better, just the general feel is better. I've trained myself to twist around more and all that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of going better. And force feedback, the Moza recently had a software update, so you can now tweak stuff a little bit more. There's a few little niggles that I have yet to work through, which I'll show you in a moment. But for the most part, you can now really tune when certain settings kick in. So things like the AOA buffet when you start a stall and when you enter transonic. You can actually set the start and the end speeds for the effect being present, and you can even set the exact angle of attack that the onset for the buffeting and the actual stall buffet kick in. There's a lot of tunability there. So here we're on Contention's Cold War server, obviously flying the F5, and we're taking off from Hama. And I'm trying to time my takeoff so that the takeoff delay timer is exactly expired as we go wheels up. So this is complete guesswork. This timer is purely added for dramatic purposes. I was going by feel, but I was pretty damn close. The satisfaction is real. I'm trying not to take off too quickly, I'm trying to delay it. And I literally was like wheels up at the exact same second that the timer said that I could go, which was pretty good. So here is that example of the niggle with the Moza software that I have yet to figure out. So you can see that we're sort of oscillating very slightly. Now this is the G effect, so by adjusting it slightly I've actually managed to get rid of this completely, but basically what happened was whenever I wasn't holding the stick, it would nose down a little bit, which meant that I would have to manually counter that so that I didn't, dive into the floor. And then whenever I did counter it, when I released to level out again, it would just do it again. And it was just oscillate, up and down, up and down, up and down. Didn't make a massive difference, and if I really gripped the stick really hard, it kind of went away, and you'll see that as I get more familiar with flying with these settings, like further on in the sortie, I actually kind of train it out of myself because I'm just combating it so proficiently that you just don't even notice it's really happening. But the reason was because of the software update and that I didn't tune or tweak a certain setting. So we've merged with the Mirage F1 EE, and this guy's just doing a wide right-hand turn on the deck. I will almost always climb through the merge in the F5 because it can't generate energy very efficiently flying level because its engines aren't very strong. So if you climb through the merge and then dive, the dive will give you back what you lost, and you can retain energy quite well that way. So you can see here that I'm actually tracking this guy quite well. The pilot model is actually superb in VR, like it actually mirrors your exact head movements. I wanted to show more of the pilot model, but obviously it's kind of an irrelevance if you wanted to see what the target is, so bit of a mix of the external and internal camera angles there. But we're rolling around on this guy, coming back over, and we're gonna get our shot here, I think, or maybe almost. Yeah, and here's a slow-mo cinematic shot for you. So when I was saying about judging the range and the lead, and like it's kind of clicked, I could have maybe pulled the trigger a little bit earlier, but I mean I hit him, didn't I? And I would have previously missed shots like that in VR, because you're sat in the plane, makes everything feel absolutely massive, and if objects feel huge, then it's really difficult to judge range because you're not used to them looking as big as they are. So I'd assume that people were like massively out of gun range when they actually weren't well within it. And I'd hold my shot and I'd pull lead too much, and I'd just miss and suck. But now I get it. I think I've just spent enough time in VR that I'm able to better translate between flat screen and 3D. So that's our first kill. He isn't quite dead yet, but I'm just going to kind of leave him to it. We shot his rudder off and he's clearly not in a good way. And the F1's damage model is actually quite good. So even if you only do sort of light damage to the F1, usually over time it will grow in severity and eventually cause the F1 to crash out, or at least force them to RTB. So abandoning him, he does actually end up crashing, but it'd be a mission kill if not a physical actual kill. So we're heading off now, and there's another F1 and a Sukhoi, a 25, SU-25 up close. I'm buzzing in low level, and that friendly Sabre to our right gets shot at by the F1, so that alerts me to the F1's presence. Sabre unfortunately dies because it eats an R530 to the face, but that's okay because it gets us on the 6 of this F1. So the F1 interestingly ditches some rocket pods, but not his ginormous fuel tanks. I actually wonder whether he didn't realise that he ditched the wrong thing, because it really hampers his ability to run away. And that Sidewinder did hit, and yes, he is still fine. So let's examine that in a little bit more detail, because I was extremely surprised. Don't think I've seen anything tank a Sidewinder up the arse before. I was actually unsure whether it would actually reach, but it seems to have got there relatively well. Detonated right on his tail. Did some, you know, reasonable looking splash damage. But I was so, like, annoyed by the fact that Sabre just decided to use another missile on him. And I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that I've fired 2 missiles at the same target before. But I was feeling pretty good about the guns, so I didn't feel the need to save the missile. So here we got another F1 coming in. Would have been really nice if we got that head-on shot, but it was not to be. Almost didn't notice him, so I didn't really have a lot of time to line up. Without that F1 annotation that I added, I'm not actually sure many people would have been able to track what was even going on with that clip, because I watched it back myself a handful of times, and even at the time I was surprised that I could even keep track on what's going on, and that kind of thing I think really helps to highlight the clarity of the Crystal Super, because I knew it was a Mirage F1 from the moment that I saw him, and here you can see I really bled the speed off through that turn. Probably shouldn't have, but because he was weighed down with 1 million rocket pods, and I was feeling pretty good about getting the hits, I think that the payoff was kind of worth it. And again, although he looks fine in passing, we did hit him a lot. There was that smoke pouring out of him initially, and he does actually go in here. More props to Urges for their good damage modelling. I kind of wish that they would add the damage model to everything, because the F1 is the only thing I feel like that I can shoot at and know will die, just from the visual feedback alone. So that's kill number 2, or is it 3? I've lost track. So we're buzzing in here low level with a random F5. And we're heading in on a Frogfuct. There's another couple of Mirages 30 miles away, but they're not our target right now. It's all on this Frogfuct. I don't know who this F5 guy is. I just thought that this close form running was quite cool. So Frogfuct's up ahead, F5 opens up because he has a Sidewinder left. I had a feeling it wasn't gonna hit home, so we stack high and just wait to see which way the Frogfuct goes. By going up, it means that you can come back down, and it doesn't actually matter which way the target turns if you're directly above them, because you can just turn in on them regardless. So here we go for like a crossing shot and don't quite land it, but again, like with the F1 before, I'm just going to proper full sand it as we come around the circle because I'm feeling pretty good about the getting the guns on. And there is actually, as well as that other F5, there's a Sabre here with us as well. Which means that even if I kind of blow this and my energy isn't great, one of them is bound to mop him up or at least keep him distracted whilst I, regain my energy. But we do get some good hits there and then take off his wing, which immediately respawns because this is DCS and the damage modelling is terrible. But he goes in. I actually do get the credit for the kill, which I believe was kill number 4. And then we've got a Mirage 8 miles ahead. So with the VR headset, I could actually see 3 contacts up ahead. In fact, I could see 6, but the other 3, it turns out, were all parachuting pilots. But I had to get quite close to ID the difference between a pilot in a parachute and an actual plane, but we figure out which one is the Mirage by using the VR, I can't remember what the zoom function is called, but I knew this was the hostile basically, and we just rock right up on him. He's already in a tangle with 2 other people, so he's distracted, he's low energy. We time our entry quite well. I kind of think of this like entering a roundabout, when you're trying to time around everyone else. If you get good at doing that kind of thing, I feel like it translates quite well into air combat, which sounds a bit weird, but here we are. And again, like I said, I feel like I'm back. My gunnery is like actually quite good in VR now. Definitely could have landed better hits on centre fuselage or further towards the cockpit, but that's going to be enough to put some hit on that guy. And obviously the F1, as we've already said, has quite a good damage model, so even if he doesn't die as a direct result of that, he will eventually from like the knock-on damage that accumulates over time. Unfortunately, at least for me, the Sabre steals the kill, which I think was egregious because the F1 was definitely just going to die anyway. Definitely not butthurt about this. Even though that gunnery did look very good, I'm quite impressed that the Sabre did that good a job, but that would have been my ace for the sortie. And on the scoreboard, I only had 4, and at this point my fuel is way too low, and my ammo is probably pretty low as well. I think we land with like sub 10% for both. It just left a bit of taste in my mouth. It would have been really nice if like my I'm back in VR sortie was an actual ace, but I'm calling it an ace anyway because I definitely did the bulk of the damage to that guy. Anyway, so we land with that F5 in the foreground. I was actually quite surprised that he managed to accelerate away from me that quickly. I thought I was going to have to do a go around to avoid crashing into him. Sabre lands behind us. I do bounce a little bit on the touchdown, but pretend that you didn't see that. And that's going to be it for the sortie. We end up rolling it around to a hangar. I like to put it in a hangar if I'm rearming, just in case someone comes and tries to bomb the airfield, because it makes me a little bit harder to spot, especially through like a targeting pod camera. Although on Cold War I don't think there really is anything that has that. There might be the SU-25T on this server, I can't remember, but whatever. One of the noticeable things of the F5's remaster, which I only found out at the end of this sortie, is that it actually has a little fold out ladder, which is actually quite cool. It might be unique to this specific skin though, because the different skins of the F5 actually change the external look of the model depending on where the antennas are and stuff. Anyway folks, if you've enjoyed this video then be sure to leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions then ask them down below. Before I go, I just want to let you know that Pimax have a Black Friday sale going on at the moment. I'll stick some info on screen and some details in the description, and they've also got a VR Rock Black Friday sale going on. So the code for that and the details for that will also be in the description below in case you want to pick up some prescription lenses for your VR headset. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.